We are recording with Dr. Dale Comstock for his millionth episode on my show. And for I know it's I know so I've been trying to figure out doing live shit for the last couple weeks. And I'm used to not having to answer to anyone but myself. And I'm realizing now that I have to like be on time for shit. And I really don't like that. So if anyone's wondering why it's 13 minutes late, go fuck yourself. That's why. So Dale's been on here before. Dale was the youngest ever member of Delta Force at age 23. Worked for OGA paramilitary. Was a mercenary. He's a PhD. Is a black belt. Trains dogs and is an explosives expert and has done just about everything under the sun. Actor, professional boxer, life coach. And I think the first episode you ever came on here was episode 50. This is episode 1075. So Dale's one of the OGs. And I'll put his book, I'll put a link to his book, American Badass, in the description. I'll also put your Instagram and Twitter. Your Instagram's one of the most fun follows. It's that's how I originally found you. That's actually a little inside baseball. That's how I found Dale. It was like March of 2020. I just messaged him on Instagram. I was like, "Hey man, you want to do my podcast?" And you're like, "Yeah." It's like, all right. People ask me like, "How did you meet Dale?" I'm like, I literally just messaged him on Instagram. You're just like, "Yeah, let's do it." Text me. I was like, "Cool." The end. That's the beginning and the end. But so I don't keep on babbling. Dale, introduce yourself for all the new listeners, man.
Yeah, so hello everybody out there. So first of all, Tommy introduced me as Dr. Dale Comstock. Okay, I have a I have a postgraduate degree. Technically, you could consider me a doctor. I see there's all this drama about Jill Biden, calling herself, yeah, doctor. Okay, look, doctor is just nothing more than it's a title for a level of achievement, right? A
Yeah.
professor. What would anyway, whatever. I'm not a medical doctor, so and I don't really care if anybody calls me doctor. Just call me Dale or hey you. If you're looking at me, I don't, that's fine with me. So I'm not into that formal stuff. For me, getting a doctorate degree was just for my own actually for my own personal knowledge and gratification. I wanted to learn more about alternative medicine and natural health and counseling and things like that, just for me personally. So, anyways, with all that said, Delta Force operator for 10 years. I was a Green Beret, light and heavy weapons expert. I was in 82nd for a while. I was an infantryman. I was an alert platoon for a while. So I did 20 years in the Army. After I graduated. Yeah, basically I did graduate it because you know what? The Army is probably the best college out there, man. And I used to recommend, I used to recommend that everybody do a stint in the military, right? And at least in my day. Now, I tell you honestly, I got to be really honest, man. I actually discourage people from joining the military. I get a lot of guys call me, particularly young guys. Recently, I had a kid from LA call me, go, "Hey, I'm really interested in joining the military and in special operations, And he looked up to me and he's like, "You have any recommendations?" I said, "Yes. Go to college, get smart, build your own business, become a sovereign man, and don't be reliant on anybody, for that matter, as much as you can, and so because the Army, at least the US Army is not the same Army. I remember, even though I'm not in it, I don't have to be in it, right? I already see all the wokeism, and I've heard, guys that are in the military tell me about it. I still have a pretty good connection to the military. And so it's not like I'm a completely on the outside looking, just kind of listen. Now I actually see and hear things too. But yeah, that's where we're at because honestly, somebody asked me, actually, I had a BBC reporter call me 2 days ago and want to talk to me about my exploits in Yemen. They actually want to do a BBC documentary and they want to come over here in April and kind of involve me in this, which I'm sitting on the fence on that one, by the way. Um, my only real, my really only interest in that area is just to explain, if you will, what we were doing, why we were doing it, but more importantly, there's a lot of people out there literally, calling for the arrest of the team, calling us all kinds of names, killers, assassins, murderers, blah, blah, blah. And, they're not really all wrong. I mean, yeah, we did, let the air of a lot of bad guys, but they were bad guys. They weren't like, just arbitrary dudes that, that the client had a hard on about. These were actually terrorists and stuff like that, right? So, and I also said, look, we didn't just go out and blindly, target somebody because the client said get that guy. We're like, yeah, okay, let's do our own intel, analysis on it. And we did our due diligence through human sources, through SIGINT sources, through the internet, and basically what we concluded was, yeah, that guy is a legitimate target. So let's take him out. And we did it surgically. And so anyways, so I want to kind of get ahead of that a little bit, and not because I didn't do anything wrong. Did I make money? Hell yeah. Why not? And so, I went down and risked my life, honestly. And, nobody knew where I was. I was out on I'm out in the street, streets of Aden in a street fight with terrorists, literally Al Qaeda, and it was me and 3, 4 other guys, and that was it. There was no QRF, there was no close air support, there was no, no MASH unit, surgical unit. There was nobody. It was just us. And if we got wounded or got killed, then probably nobody would ever know, other than maybe they'd see us, in an orange jumpsuit hanging, with their head chopped off or something, or maybe on the news for a minute for propaganda purposes, but nobody knew we were there. So yeah, a lot of risk. And of course there's a lot of reward for it, right? So at the end of the night, I sleep really, really good because I know that, I did my part to fight the bad guys, man. So anyways, I digress. So, again, I kind of look back at my military career and I'm like, man, was it all worth it? Considering where we are today and the disrespect that a lot of veterans get now, the disrespect to our military. Look, you know what? It's disrespectful when you pull us out of Afghanistan, right, and just kind of pull us out like that, and you put a bunch of guys in, you botch it up the way you did, and you get 13 people killed
Mm-hmm.
because you screwed it up, right? And I think it's disrespectful to everybody that's ever served in Afghanistan, because we were there for a purpose, right? We had a cause, and we fought for that purpose and that cause. And then just a pull pitch like that and leave Americans behind and have Americans die in the final minute because of piss poor planning, poor leadership, all these things, is really an insult to every person that participated in that campaign for the right reasons, and they pulled us out for all the wrong reasons. And and so I look at that. I look at back at Mogadishu. What happened there? Here we have a mission to, kill or capture Adid. Okay. And then, Bill Clinton and his regime didn't want to provide us the equipment and weapons and things that we needed to complete the mission. They wouldn't give us armored vehicles. We asked for all that. Bradleys, no, 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 no. And then, but they want us to kill this guy, right? And all his other lieutenants. Well, when the firefight happened, the big firefight, we lost a lot of people, man. A lot of Delta operators and a lot of Rangers went down that day, and in total 18 just KIAs on that night, US, and then 77 wounded. Of course, there were hundreds and hundreds. The count I got was 700 to 1,000 enemy KIA that night, but and it would stand to reason considering the amount of lead we were slinging at them, or what was being slung at them. But and then we pulled out. We got a bloody nose. We lost a bunch of guys. Michael Durant got rolled up. He's MIA, and suddenly we went from a direct action mission to kind of a hostage rescue mission. And it's like, just get them back so we can get out of here. Just leave you guys alone. And so a bunch of people died that night, and were wounded. And our commander in chief, who's supposed to complete the mission, lead by example, turned tail and ran. Is what he did. And so all those men that died, Gary Gordon, Randy Shugart, all these guys, Delta guys, and then all the Rangers and 10th Mount, everybody got smoked, died for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And those families, their families were left behind, without them. And so this is problematic for me. And now as I look back, I thought that might be a one-off, but now I realize it's not a one-off. And so being very disgusted, with our government particularly, and the way things are going, even in the military, I don't want no part of it. And I recommend nobody take part in this thing, man. Look, I have guys coming to me for training, literally, 2 months at a time. They spend tons of money, thousands and thousands of dollars. They stay here. And basically for 60 days, I go out and train them, shooting, fighting, everything that goes, they want the Jason Bourne, menu of, TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, but they don't want to join the military because they also feel like it's not worth going to the military. And but they want the skills, right? And so am I training militia? No, I'm just training guys that are concerned about their survivability and their sovereignty, particularly young rich men. They're like, man, I got a feeling they're going to be coming for me. In fact, I had two guys in the class. They were roommates. One was Jewish, actually from Belarus originally. His family, very conservative, pro-Trump, and Jewish and wealthy, and they were scared. They weren't scared of the Trumpers. They were scared of the left. Right? They're scared of the future and what might happen to them, and so they wanted to be prepared, and why wouldn't they be? I mean, you got Elon Omar, whatever, freaking Somali bitches, right up there talking shit about the Jews, I'd be a little
Yeah.
concerned too. Right.
Yeah.
And the roommate was, by the way, this is even a funnier story. This guy is actually a Catholic priest, same age, they're both 28 years old. And so I put them both up in the same Airbnb and they were roommates. Right. So I got a Jewish guy and I got a Catholic priest, same age. And the Catholic priest actually wanted to go join the army and be a Green Beret. He did join the army, went through all the training, and then the COVID bullshit started. And because he refused to take the vaccine, guess what happened? He got booted, right? And here's the irony. Now they're like, okay, everybody, we're sorry, no more, COVID vaccine mandates, and he's out. Come
Yeah.
on, man. What? This is why I'm telling people, hey, man, wake up, smell the coffee, man. There's, being in special forces, being a special operator, being military is not the end all be all. It doesn't, define you as a man or anything like that. There's other ways to challenge yourself in life, and if you have to challenge yourself and see what kind of man you are, there are other things you can do, right? So, a lot of other things out there you can do. It's not just, and I'm sorry to say that, but hopefully, this administration goes away real fast, and the next go around, we get some level-headed leadership in there. And I shouldn't even say leadership because that's a misnomer, administrators, because, they're not leaders, man. By definition, the president's not a leader. None of them are leaders, man. They're really just CEOs, man. They're at the executive level. They're administrators. That's it, man. But anyways, we need people that are smart administrators that will, abide by the Constitution, not violate people's rights, let people live in freedom, and stop trying to crush us. Which, as you know, we've talked about this before. There's an agenda here with the global reset, one world government. The World Economic Forum, the G20 summit. I was at the G20 summit. I heard all the bullshit that was being spewed there, the lies. Okay, but the bottom line is what are they trying to achieve? And they're like, well, we want to make the world a better place and people be happy and safe and blah blah blah. At what cost? Oh, well, they got to give up their security. They've got to get a vaccine, a COVID vaccine
Passport.
passport from the World Health Organization, so we can track you, so we don't get other people. Dude, this is all put out. It's constantly being put out. It's like, no, I don't want a vaccine passport. I don't want you to control my movement, and I don't want you to control my money. Tell me how and when I can spend it, and only and manage my money for me because I was a bad boy, on a social credit system. But this is where it's going. I heard it with my own ears at the G20 summit. What I heard in one section was, we have a food shortage, we have a water shortage, we have an energy shortage. We're going to have another pandemic, and oh yeah, the Russians are bad, going to kill us all. And so, and so with that, we need one government to manage everything to keep you guys safe at the expense of your security, of course. And then
And
and
privacy.
so yeah, so just give us all your shit, and you'll have nothing, but you won't need nothing because we'll provide everything you need for you. And it's just, and everybody's like, yeah, yeah, nodding their head. And I couldn't believe it, man. It's like, Jesus Christ, the whole world is being corrupted by these guys. Um, anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent,
No,
so a little
keep
bit
going.
more.
No, keep going. No, no, dude, I don't know. This is what I live for, Dale. Is
Yeah.
you getting wound up and then just going. Keep going. But no,
Well, just
but you got to go see that with, but I think that's an important distinction, is it's not just me screaming in my bedroom, fucking
no,
Klaus
no,
Schwab's a Nazi. No, you were you were there. You
yeah.
were there.
Yeah, and so and that's just and I just happen to be privy to a circle, inner circle, where I've been exposed to more of this, the chicanery, this madness, from this elite, right? So this top tier elite, the puppeteers, if you will, the Bilderbergers and all these, the Soros and, the people that are literally that own the world banks, right? And the United Nations, Federal Reserve, we can go on and on, right? There's not everything is what it seems. And most people won't even pick up on that because they're being distracted by all the bullshit, the fake racism, all this bullshit. People, they're going, look at the shiny thing over here. But I was looking at that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But while over here, they're doing whatever they're doing. It's just like like we talked about the Roman Empire,
Yeah,
give
bread
them
and
bread and
circus.
circus,
Give them
and so here
Chinese
we
spy
are.
balloons.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Here we are. Right. And so we are in World War III. It just hasn't gone kinetic ballistic yet. Let's face it. We are there.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have the Russians already active. And by the way, I hate this. This is going to sound bad too, right? I'm going to sound like a Russian sympathizer.
Okay.
They're not my friends, but I got to really be honest about the situation over there. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. Why are they really want to invade Ukraine so bad? Okay. There's other reasons that are not obvious. Okay. And it has to do with a lot of things, i.e., these pharmaceutical companies. Okay, over there and creating experimental drugs and bullshit, right? Oh yeah, Biden's connection and him and his son's connection to Zelensky and the Ukrainian government,
Burisma and all
right?
the
Right.
biolabs and
Yeah. And then also the American agenda about, when we started NATO, what is it, 13 countries? We said, well, we want to expand. It's just 13. What are we up to now? Some ridiculous number. And we said we would never encroach on the Russian border. Here we are knocking on the doorstep. It's just like the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? All of a sudden they show up in Cuba. We're like, oh shit, we're shitting in our pants, and we're thinking there's going to be a world war here in a minute, and so, Kennedy, which was probably the only decent Democratic president, managed to, dissuade them from continuing on and push them back. But we don't, we can't let the Russians feel the same way. Of course we can, and I can't say I really blame them for that.
yeah.
But anyways, so let me backpedal way back. So you asked me to tell everybody a little bit about my background. So I spent 20 years in the Army, Delta Force operator for almost 10 years, Green Beret, 82nd Airborne Division. I got out. I started my own company called Global Security Consultants prior to 9/11. Did very well, made a lot of money, sold that company in 2004 to G4S, Wackenhut. Currently, at the same time, when 9/11 happened, I got recruited by OGA. I spent 9.5 years with them doing special operations, basically as a contractor, making a ton of money, but doing everything I did in the military 10x. It was one of the most satisfying jobs I ever had, man, where I was actually able to take it to the enemy without a bunch of constraints and bullshit that
No
comes
red
along.
tape.
Yeah, like in the military, right? But that did start changing in the end for me as well, which is why I resigned in 2011. Ended up in Hollywood, started doing TV shows, became part of a production company for a couple years, and then that just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I wasn't happy there, didn't like the culture, surprise, and so I found my next paradigm in Hong Kong. I moved to Hong Kong, was part of a bodyguard detail for a multi-billionaire investment banker for a while. I met my wife from Indonesia. She went to Indonesia later on. I followed Indonesia, right? It's funny what women can talk you into, but so I show up in Indonesia and look around. Hey, it's not so bad here, and I had different ideas because I thought, man, it's a predominantly Muslim country, and it's actually a very liberal Muslim country for the most part. And I'm quite comfortable there. Nobody judges. Very pluralistic, right? Catholics, Protestants, Buddhists, Hindus, they're all accepted there. Nobody gives a shit about your religion. None of this stuff that goes on in our country happens there. Everybody knows that what a man and a woman is. They know that, right? We got to talk about that, argue about that. There's just two. They're still very, for the most part, very conservative, although they have their religion is rather relaxed, right? So they're not very dogmatic about it. They allow women to smoke cigarettes and wear booty shorts and fingernail polish, especially in Bali where I live. Chicks riding around in string bikinis on motorcycles, pretty freaking cool, right?
Oh yeah.
But anyways, I ended up there. Long story short, been there for almost 8 years now, I think, and own a company there with my wife, doing really well. I travel a lot, got a lot of business in Manila, and I have a place there as well. And now I'm currently talking to you from Florida. I'll be here for a couple of weeks before I go back downrange to Bali. So that's kind of my background. I do a lot of personal performance coaching. That's my side hustle. I take on about 7 clients at the most at a time, and it's just help develop other people to be best versions of themselves. Still involved in other things, training, writing. Do a lot of work with canines, but I wear many hats and I'm kind of jack of many trades, but not really a master at all of them. Some of them, but not all of them. But it works for me. Makes life interesting. And like you said earlier, I don't have to get up and answer to the boss. I don't have to be at work at any time. I'm always at work. Anytime my phone's with me, I'm working. I'm at work, and it's a good life. But what I want to share with you today is just kind of talk about a couple things, man. One, so we kind of talked to this before the show started, was Andrew Tate. For those that don't know who Andrew Tate is, he's an influencer, right? He used to be a kickboxer, and you know, pretty cool dude, man. I've listened to a lot of his shows, and I'm like, man, this guy's just nailing it. He's saying exactly what I think, and he's probably saying what a lot of men think and are afraid to say it, right? But he don't care, and I like that. I thought I was the only asshole out here, but I got a friend out here, man, and so
You should change your
anyway.
title to American Bad Asshole.
Hey, that's a good idea.
I like it.
Yeah, no shit, right? Yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. But anyways, he's the guy that's like very pro men, pro
Yeah,
boys, pro men. Be a man. Stop
it's
being a
okay to be a
pussy.
man. That's
Yeah,
it.
stop. Yeah, exactly, right. And then he calls out women for what they are. The feminist movement, all this, and all the shit that's, you want to talk about inequity, man. There's a lot of inequity. Women get a pass for a lot of things that men don't get the pass for. It's like, you want to be equal, then share share the equal punishment, the equal consequences. Why should you sheltered from that? Now, I got to watch how I say that because I'm married. I'm married again, but I'm married to an Indonesian woman. And by the way, newsflash, she's actually Muslim. How about that, right? So, and she's one of the sexiest, funnest girls I've ever met in my life. And she also, like most Asian women, believes in gender roles, and because of that, our marriage really works well. I'm free to do what I need to do, what I want to do. I don't feel like is my wife looking and checking on me. She's not, because she just lets me do my thing, right? She's and trust me to just be me as I do her, right? I don't tell her, hey, you can't go out with the girls or whatever you want to do. I'm like, live your life, I live my life, and we live our life together. We're happy together, hopefully. And if we're not, we go our separate ways. But don't expect me to make you happy, and I don't expect don't expect me to make you happy, and you don't expect expect to make me happy, right? So that's how it works. We can do that. And basically, what we're saying is we're going to set really low expectations, and that's what's going to make the
Yeah,
marriage work. If you have
yeah.
if you have a low expectation,
Can't
it's
really
like
fuck it up.
you. Oh yeah, and you won't be overwhelmed when it does get fucked up, right?
Yeah.
So, but it works. But so I'm not throwing women under the bus per se. I'm just throwing, unfortunately, a lot of the American women under the bus. And look, not all women are the same. I know there are a lot of good American women out there. Unfortunately, the system that's in place, all right, it favors them. And so what I mean by that is there is no incentive for American men to get married. And I hope you guys are listening to me out there. There's no incentive. If you really think hard and long about it, there's no incentive. And here's why. Statistically speaking, 70 to 80% of all divorces are initiated by women. And women with college degrees are 90% likely to initiate the divorce. So think about your odds, man. They're really, really low. Okay. And so, you got a 4 out of 5 chance that person is gonna take you to the cleaners, especially if they come to the relationship with nothing and you already have something, which is what happened to me, right? I actually lost all my premarital assets, everything. And then everything I acquired after that had nothing to do with the other half. For example, my book royalties, my autobiography, guess what? I got to give the other person, cut of that, everything I've created. And so, oh yeah, and I had to basically give her my daughter. I don't get to see my daughter 6 days out of the month. And I pay a ton of child support money for the privilege of seeing my daughter 6 days a month at the whim of my ex, if she allows me to do it, even though it's stipulated in the divorce decree and
Jesus.
child custody arrangements, right? So if she doesn't do it, what am I going to do? Call a lawyer, and I got to go to court? How long is that going to take? How much money is
How
that
much
going to cost
money?
me? right? And so here we go, right? And this is the setup, the system set up against men. Um, you're nothing but a walking ATM machine. You might go, oh yeah, she loves me. She would never do that to me. I remember those conversations with my ex. Oh, I'd never do that to you. Oh wait, I'm, I don't need you. Yeah, look at it. I'm paying for everything, house, cars, everything, and I don't get nothing out of it, man. And so, I'm one of those guys. And no, I didn't do anything wrong. They initiated the divorce. Anyways, I don't go all the details of that, but the point is, um, the system's rigged against us. Why? Because, well, first of all, the lawyers make money. The judges are supporting their institution, right? Because they were lawyers too. They're going to be lawyers again, possibly. They're friends with all the lawyers. Don't think they're not. Yes, they are. Okay, they're all in the same community playing golf together.
It's a racket.
Uh,
Yeah, they're all
it's
they're all
a
scratching each other's backs.
it is a racket, right? So they're profiting, the courts are profiting, all the fees, and then the revenue service, from whatever state you're in that you have to pay child support payments through, they get a cut, and they're subsidized by the US government. Their monies are matched, right? So they're making money off of you. You're the only guy that ain't making nothing. Everybody else is getting rich, right? And oh yeah, the other half is getting all kinds of other accommodations if she needs it. Housing, we can go on and on with all the benefits for single moms, right, that are in a rut. And the husband has got to take it in the ass, right? And if you don't do it, you go to jail, and then you really take an ass because, well, both figuratively and literally.
And then you literally take it in the ass.
And you can't. And how are you supposed to make money if you're locked in jail, right? So it just not most, man, a lot of people know how corrupt the system is, and I got a feeling there's going to be a backlash. And we've talked about my political leanings and things like that. You can goddamn believe that that's going to be on the front of my fucking, on my windshield, man. Those are things I want to address, man. You want to talk about equity? Let's talk about equity, goddamn it, and and somebody, oh, you got to be careful, man. You'll probably piss off a lot of women. I don't give a shit. All right, I don't give a shit. Yeah. All right. And, you don't talk to me about morality and ethics, but, only, when it benefits you and not everybody else. And actually, more importantly, you should care about it because it actually impacts the children. They're the victims in this thing, And so, anyways, Andrew Tate, go back to him, So anyways, he's in jail, in Hungary, no charges, him and his brother, no charges. They locked him up for 30 days and just extended for another 30 days. If you watch the news, I guess Mike Tyson's lawyer went over to represent him. She went in and go, hey, what's the charges? Why you got my client locked up? Hey, you mind letting him out? And they're like, no, another 30 days, but no charges, no nothing. And there's a lot withholding him, right? Now think about that here in this country. Actually, it is happening in this country.
Is happening?
Think about, right? It is actually happening now. Think about January 6th. There's guys locked up right now for just being in Washington, D.C., and through affiliation somewhere, somehow, they're in jail and been since January 6th, or thereabouts. And there's no due process anymore, even in this country. And so what's the deal with Andrew Tate? He's been, accused of, sex trafficking, blah, blah, blah. Actually, I from what I understand, he runs a porn site. The girls that are on the porn site are paid. It's voluntary. Nobody's getting abused. Nobody's getting trafficked. They've even come out and forced. They go, hey, I'm there, and I'm, he doesn't do this. They've actually
the porn actresses have come out and said that.
Yeah, his girlfriend's like, nah, he's not he's not domestic abuse. He doesn't do that. He doesn't need to. He's a billionaire, man. A billionaire. Look, dude, when you're a billionaire, you can go out and buy 30 pieces of pussy, strange, every day. I mean, that's what money will get you, man. And so the guy's not alone. He's not lonely. There's no way, and so he doesn't need to rape women and sex traffic women. I mean, in fact, he doesn't need to do any of that because he's got such a huge following already, man. There's other ways for him to make money and profit, just motivating, inspiring men. But, the left has an agenda against him. They don't like to hear him say, dudes, be sovereign. You don't need women, right? But be a passport bro. You know what a passport bro is? Bro, passport bro. Basically, what the trend is now, it used to be called MGTOW, men going their own way. And that's still a thing, right? And basically what passport bros is, a lot of American men, actually not just American men, probably European men too, but we'll talk about Americans now, are going, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with these crazy American women. They're all parasitic, I can't trust them. And the odds are stacked against me. I'm going to lose everything one day, if I don't do the right thing, if I'm not Mr. Perfect. And then what? I'm out, right? So why marry an American woman? I want to be married. So I just go overseas, like Asia, for example, and find me a traditional woman that
Yeah.
actually cares about me, loves me, takes care of me, not trying to milk me for everything, and not going, with a little agenda. Let me, hang around for a couple of years, and and build up the bank, and then the alimony amount that I might get, and then dump them. Dude, I've got, you see some of these superstars, man. What's his name, man? He pays 38,000 a month in child support. Other guys, $19,000 a month child support, and because he got divorced, the wife wanted a divorce, and girls are getting paid millions and millions of dollars in alimony child supports. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Is that fair?
Maybe that's what the whole transsexual movement is. It's just a bunch of guys chopping their dicks off to get that sweet, sweet alimony money.
Yeah, you know what? Do you know what? It could really happen, man.
Yeah,
Think
why the
about that
fuck
for a minute,
not? Yeah, you're getting fucked
right?
every other way. Why not?
Yeah. So, anyways, this whole Andrew Tate thing, man, I just kind of want to, I've been thinking a lot about that, and kind of curious to see how that's going to go. But I know for sure it's politically driven.
Of course it is.
They literally, dude, they confiscated all his cars, man, exotic cars, loaded everything. He had all kinds of Bugattis and everything,
Yeah.
man. Hauled it off, raided his house. He had $10 million laying in there. They fucking took that. And yet there's not a charge filed against the guy, man. So, so I would say, don't ever go to Hungary, but you know what? I'm going to tell you, don't ever go to America either, because it happens here, right? Look what they did to Donald Trump. Just, hey, we're going to come into your house and take your wife's panties and shit, and all your stuff. We're not living in the same America that I grew up in and served in, and then here I am going, whoa. I don't recognize this country anymore. I don't recognize anybody that calls himself a leader, like General Miley and these other Austin and these other fucking cocksuckers, man. They are not fucking soldiers, and they can fuck themselves. I'll challenge them that these guys are fucking suits, have been suits all their lives. And I'm like, where the fuck's he, Miley getting all these fucking ribbons and shit from? That guy, goddamn, hasn't seen combat. I guarantee he's never seen combat. Right? They slapped that shit on because I was in a combat zone and I'm automatically given a CIB, even though maybe I ran out to the perimeter wall one time to watch, a fucking little firefight, and I maybe took a couple of shots just to say I did it. That's the kind of guys that are in charge of this country. All right. They're not warriors. Okay. And look, they're not smarter than most Americans out there anyways. Don't ever believe that politicians and generals are smarter than you, because at the end of the day, man, even Elon Musk said it, you can buy intelligence. You can buy an education, but you can't buy intelligence, right? And so there it is. There's a difference between academic, intelligence and effective intelligence, right? All these college degrees. Look, what's her name? AOC. Okay, that is one of the dumbest freaking college grads I've ever met, man. Some of the shit that comes out of that fucking horse jaw, is just like, what in the hell, man? And how did she become a politician? I mean, come on. So, anybody in this country should and can be, a president if they really wanted it, right? If they're given the opportunity. The problem is they'll never get the opportunity. It takes money. It takes a network, right? It takes people to help open doors and guide you in. And guess what? With those guidance and those open doors comes what? Graft. There comes,
Stipulations. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, right? Exactly.
Beholden to
So
me, beholden to you. And if you're not beholden, they're just going to blackmail you. You get in the office
it,
because they have the proverbial gun to your head. Yeah. The people
yeah,
that get there are the least among us.
yeah, exactly, man. Hopefully that all fucking changes, man. But anyway, so Andrew Tate, man, feel for the guy. Want to see how that turns out, but I love what he does and love what he says. He's right on every level. I say the same thing to people all the time. It's like, dudes, be a sovereign man. Don't get married. Don't be in a hurry to get married. You get a girl pregnant, okay, you don't have to get married. All right. Especially nowadays, everybody don't give a shit, if you're married or not. And women, those, look, it's their responsibility just as much as yours. Look, if women are allowed to go have an abortion, then men should be allowed to say, hey, I'm not fucking paying child support. Okay. Because really think about this. If a woman's saying, hey, fuck you, you got me pregnant, I don't want this baby anymore because I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm going to go kill this kid, you know, you know, and the guy doesn't get to say anything about it, doesn't get to stop it. He has no say in it. That's his child going to be murdered. Okay. Then I think the opposite should be true. If you get someone pregnant and she has the baby, you should say, I don't want to have the kid because I don't have a say if you want to kill him. So why should I,
That's a fair
if
point.
I'm not involved, so then why should I be responsible for paying for him? You see what I mean? It's a two-way street. And so, and the argument is, well, it's a living thing. Yeah, it's a living thing inside the womb also, man. And it is my child. It is my DNA. There are two bodies there, two sets of bodies, two sets of DNA. Okay. So that's what you have in there. All right. So, and, anyways, and I think of, I don't sit around a lot of times thinking about this stuff, but when I think about it, it's like, I start trying to really try to keep not getting caught up with the herd and the herd mindset, and I try to just break away and look at it from another perspective like
Mhm.
this one, if she can go have an abortion without my consent, or she can have the baby, right, without my consent, or disapproval, then I should have the right to go, no, I don't want to pay for the child support, right? So it's a two-way street, right? It goes both ways.
You wonder how
And
that would
then
you wonder how that would change abortion laws if it was made possible for men to also get a say on whether or not that might kind of shift the whole thing to a different frame of reference instead of is it a separate body, is it a living I think what would maybe change people is be like, yeah, a woman wants it, but dad doesn't want it. People would be up in arms. They'd be like, you're going to kill her baby. So it's a baby now. It's
yeah,
not a
exactly
consent,
right.
right? If
Exactly right.
she has the baby and 24 hours later I kill the baby, I'm going to jail for life as well as I should. Odd dichotomy, man. Odd.
Yeah.
It is an
Well,
interesting thing to think about.
even if you shot her at 8 months pregnant and she survived the gunshot wound to the belly, but the baby didn't, you're
Attempted,
still
or
going to
that's
go to jail for
murder.
murder.
It's a murder.
Right? Right. So, see what I'm saying? And this is the problem with most people out here in the world, right? The dumb masses. They don't really think this
Just take
thing
the
this
carrot.
through, right? They just take the carrot. And you know why? Because they're so focused on other shit, that doesn't even matter, like, MTV, the Kardashians, and all this TikTok shit. Everybody, what was this? They did a survey not too long ago. They asked a bunch of girls, what do you want to do when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a fucking TikTok influencer. What the fuck? How do you influence people? You don't know shit.
You
You haven't
go
done
back to
shit.
like 1950, you ask a kid what they want to do, and they're like, I want to work for NASA and put rockets on the moon. That's
Yeah.
now. It's like,
Well,
I
that's
want to
what the
be a
Chinese
woman.
kids are saying. That's what the
Yeah.
Chinese kids are saying, right? Because
Yeah.
they actually have different algorithms for them, right? The TikTok version the Chinese get is all educational stuff, developmental stuff, and they make sure that we get all the garbage shit, the fucking brainwashing
You,
stuff.
you ever seen those like versions of like National Geographic and Time Magazine where it'll be like it'll be like Congo, Russia, China, Japan, Vietnam, Mexico, and they all have the same title, and it's about whatever this new breakthrough in neuroscience, and then there's the American version, and it's
Yeah,
like are women girl bosses or some shit, right? And it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
how Tom Hanks came to live with the fact he's a billionaire. Like there's just this shit, and you're like, well, maybe we're just reaping what we sow. But to what we've been saying is like it also like my parents have married once, never divorced, still together, and and I've had a wonderful life. I genuinely believe that has contributed to far more than 50% of like who I am is that my parents stayed together through thick and thin, and one of my siblings is married, and that's great. And so it's not to, and I know this isn't what you're saying. I mean, clearly you're married. I've met your wife, and you guys are happy together. It's not shitting on the whole concept. It's more so don't feel like you need to get bum rushed in. I'm 32. I'm my own boss. I'm kind of doing everything on my own. I fucking wake up when I want to do what I want. I mean, my job is screaming at a camera talking to Dale. Like, like you can go out and do it. And that doesn't mean that you can't go get a 9 to 5. That doesn't mean you can't go become a lawyer. I just chose to do this. It also means that I'm not dating anyone. I don't really have any plans to get married anytime soon. It doesn't mean I won't one day. It just means
yeah,
don't. I had a lot of friends that finished college and they got married because it was the next thing to do. And I think that's what leads to this shit is you sign the papers and you're 24 and then you're 27 and then you're 29. You're not sure if this is right for you, but then you realize that there's already a dildo up your ass. And if you leave, you're fucked for life. You're going
yeah,
to be paying
yeah,
shit out the ass forever. And if you don't, you will
yeah,
go to prison. Like
yeah.
that's not
And
good.
you don't have to. There's alternatives to this thing, right?
Yeah.
One is don't get married. Ideally, don't get somebody pregnant. in
Yeah.
America because it's almost as bad, and but there are options. Options are go somewhere else where people still are sane, and the laws aren't tilted in the favor of women and the courts and the state making money off you, right? So there are options, dude. And so there's this, I mentioned earlier, passport boys. That is actually a thing. Guys are literally getting passports and traveling overseas to find women that they can be compatible with, and they're everywhere. I tell people, I probably shouldn't tell people to do this, but for
Yeah,
example,
save them from me. Stop telling people, Dale. I'm still
so yeah,
single.
so
Don't
yeah,
fucking
we've
ruin it.
talked about this. It's like, come over there, man. Bali and Indonesia, those areas over there. The women are beautiful. They're naturally beautiful. They tend to be pretty much in shape, not because they have to go to the gym every day, but actually because they eat right and they
They're
eat
just
healthy, and they work, and they don't have to work hard, but they stay active, and they participate, in the family unit, and they have their role. They respect gender roles. The father does this, the mother does that, and guess what? It actually freaking works, because that's what we were doing from the beginning of time. It
yeah.
wasn't until the feminists came in and go, oh, ladies, we should be equal rights, blah, 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 and you don't need to be married, and you don't have to do this. You can be a doctor. You should die. And now look where we are today. Less and less women are getting married. There's less and less kids. And guess what? More and more women are unhappy because they can't find a man. Did you know percentage-wise? I share something that's kind of funny, too. So most women, they've done a lot of studies on this, are looking for a guy that's at least 6 foot, although you don't have to be 6 foot. They're looking for a guy with 6 figures, ideally. They're looking for a guy with at least a 6-inch cock. Okay, I know that disqualifies you. No.
Hey, man,
That's
three of
hey,
the I'm already disqualified 3 for 3. I'm 5'9" on a good day. I actually cut my penis off for solidarity with trannies, and I don't know, something to do with Ukraine. And I'm not making 6 figures. So by that definition, I can't have a
I,
woman, which is why
I'll
I
tell
just
you
have a
what.
podcast.
I'll cut a third of mine off and give it to you,
Oh,
and then
thanks,
get you
Dale.
just a third though, right?
I'll
No.
end this. I'll end this live stream right now, you cocksucker. But
No,
yeah,
but
no, it's
but
six six six.
so
Yeah, they want the
yeah, yeah. And so the other thing is, so they ask these women, ideally would you like? This is the kind of guy I want. He's this, he does that. He's got money. He's a self starter. He's sovereign. He doesn't have to be a good looking guy. Actually, women they don't really hang their hat on that one. They're like, the height thing is really something more subconscious, because what it says to them from a primitive primordial perspective is the guy's a hunter, he's strong, and he could be a potential protector because he's 6 foot. Now we know that's not always true. There are little guys that whoop your ass all day long, but this goes back to our primitive times, right? So they when the women said, this is my guy that I'm looking for, did you know that guy is only about 5% of the male
and
population?
that guy
And
doesn't want
usually,
fuck all to do with you.
absolutely right. Why would that guy want a
He
fucking parasite, right?
he's got a fucking vasectomy, a penthouse, and a passport. He ain't looking for your dumb hoe ass. He's out, and the only motherfucker that would be compatible is me, Mr. 444 or Mr. 333 on a good, right?
Well, well, here's the thing, right? And I don't know if you've ever told this to your listening audience out there, but I think it's kind of worth noting. You should probably tell them, here you go to med school, you score super high on MCATs, you could be this fucking next medical fucking genius in the world, right? And then he said, fuck that. You know what? I can make a lot of money, do really well at that, but I'm not as interested as I'm more interested in talking to people and doing podcasts. And here you are doing it, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing what you want to do. You're a sovereign man. You're making money, and nobody's telling you when to get up, fucking put the toilet seat down. You do what you want to do. And how cool is that? And the other good news is, for every guy out there, as we get older, we just get better. Okay. We become more attractive. We're more marketable, right? Our sexual and financial attractiveness and value just keeps going up. Our marketability, right? As we
Stop
get
forgetting
older.
about that 6 foot thing as a protector, and you realize we're not on the plains of Africa 100,000 years ago. Hey, who has
Yeah.
a job? Who has insurance? Who has a 401k? Who has a home that's paid off?
They want to see a
You
six
ain't
foot.
giving a fuck if I'm a 5'9" Irish guy with gray
No,
hair. Hey, motherfucker's got a bank account now.
they just want to think that maybe you got a 6 foot pallet of fucking $100 bills, or something, right? So
Yeah.
that's what that matters, and that's why you see all these dudes, going, oh yeah, he's, that's a sugar daddy because look at this little fucker, the old fart dude. He's got this hot chick. Well, yeah, money's power. Okay, let's be realistic. Money is power, and power will get you money. They'll go hand in hand. Power and money are hand in hand. If you got money, you got power, perceived power. And if you got power, perceivably you have money, or you have the ability to get that money. You have the ability to influence things, because that's really what money does, right? Influence things, influence sales, purchasing, things like that,
Sure.
right? So look, you can do it with power. And so, that there is attraction. So for, guys, man, when you get up there, look, even at my age of 60, yeah, I'm 60 years old, man. My wife's much younger than me. I'm gonna go into her age, but considerably younger than me. And it's not especially with Asian women, they don't give a shit. I've had 22-year-old women, 20-year-old women come to me, 28-year-old women, very attractive. And, I could do that all day long. You actually see a lot of that over in Asia too, right? And so, because with the age comes the maturity that they're at, the security and the sovereignty and the protection that they're looking for, right? So all those types of things that help nurture the family, raise the kids. So I tell guys, man, over here, man, dude, don't let that piece of pussy fucking, lock you up for life, man, because it will, right? And by the way, women are not as marketable for as long. That's the reality. Let's face it. In Indonesia, if a girl is more than it goes over 25 years old, everybody's like, "What's wrong with you? How come nobody married you yet?" By the time you're 30, it's like, "Oh, you're just an old hag." And I'm like, "What?" These 30-year-old girls look like 18-year-old girls, man. They're beautiful, attractive, but in their mind, you're expected to be married before you're 25. My wife got married the first time she was 15 years old. All right, 15. Now that wasn't by her choice; she was forced to
Sure.
get married. But there's a lot of that going on over there. Now I'm not advocating for that kind of thing, but what I'm saying is, as women get older, even in America, right? There's a ceiling, man. And unless you really go out of your way to put makeup on and dress sexy and work out, women just don't have that same, what's the word I'm looking for? It's called um, street sexual value, or street, some type of value, right there. You're not as desirable anymore as the girl over here, right? Because listen, here's another thing, right? So this will sound chauvinistic, but I don't care. Well, women are beautiful on the inside. Okay, look, man, let's be real, right? Why, if you really thought that men don't look at women from the outside, because we're looking at women first because we want a sexy woman with nice tits, nice ass, good body, not fat.
Same reason a
It's
woman wants a tall guy with a jawbone. It's the same fucking shit.
exactly. And then guess what? If it wasn't true, and if women stopped lying, if they would stop lying and actually admit the truth, that's why they put fucking makeup on and lipstick on, right? Red lipstick. Why red lipstick? Because red lipstick is the same thing as women's lips turning red when they're fucking turned on. Okay, the blushing of the face, redness, comes from the blood flow and the excitement of sex and mating, right? So there's all these things. So women are actually duplicating that, right, by trying to look beautiful, sexy, all that shit. And if it didn't matter to them, if they didn't believe it, then why are you doing it? Why'd you just put on a pair of fucking
It's
sweatshirt and pants and call it a fucking day? Don't even bother your hair, right?
it's if you have to say something, then it's like that quote, right? If someone has to say they're the king, then they're not the king, right?
Right.
It's just there's power is self-confident. And it's also like, man, if you gotta bombard every newspaper and Facebook post that curvy is beautiful. Hey, some guys like that. More power to you. Hey man, if you got to force it down, if you got to use propaganda, hey man, you take a
Yeah.
perfectly stacked woman, you don't need any headlines to have you looking at. And hey, vice versa, I was in great shape all my life. In 2014, I lost my brother, and then I put on like 70 pounds. You want to know something? I was the same guy that got into the same medical school with the same education. You want to know what? I struck out like I had like a biblical dry spell. Like, and you go, what the fuck happened? And then I lost most of the weight. And you know what? It all came back. That ain't a fucking coincidence. I'm still the same person, still have the same manners. I still talk the same way. I don't hold it against anyone. It's just the truth. It's not no,
Yeah.
no no- nobody made it that way. It's just, hey man, you get fat, your abs disappear, and your face gets chubby. It's what it is. And it's in truth, you can find freedom. You can either bitch about it and go, it's not fair, I'm still beautiful on the inside. And that may be true. And that does apply when you've been married 50 years and you get into your 80s. Yeah, sure, you're both gonna lose all attraction, but at that point it's something deeper. But man, for a while you can be mad at everyone else, and I was. And you know where that got me? Nowhere. Working at a liquor store, living in my parents' fucking room above their garage, still screaming at the same camera. So I don't know how much I progressed, but like when you finally realize it ain't anybody's fault but your own. And even if it is someone else's fault, it's still your own responsibility. You stop fucking eating McDonald's, you stop drinking beer, at least to excess. You can still have fun, and you start losing weight. Don't be fucking surprised when a girl gives you the time of day. And then you know what? That's the opener. And then she gets to know you and they go, oh, I actually like you for who you are. And you go, but I've always been the same person. Hey, I bet there's a lot of girls out there who probably have the exact personality I want. But guess what? I'm a male Homo sapien. If I'm not attracted, I ain't ever gonna knock on the fucking door. And you can meet an
That's right.
attractive girl, and if she's not your kind, you go, fuck that. Or you meet an attractive girl, and then know what happens? You start to go, oh, you know what? I don't care whatever happens to this. Like, I'd be with this person until she's 80. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But my
Yeah.
grandma and grandpa weren't attracted to each other at 86, but it didn't fucking matter. They got married. They played their roles. My grandpa worked his job. My grandma raised 6 kids. And you know what? They were fucking happily married for half a century. So it's kind of horseshit. Dye your hair neon green, put a spike through your nose and say, yes, queen. You weigh 600 pounds. You know what happens? A bunch of fucking guys start to get passports and go, hey, is there any traditional women out there?
That's
Fucking
a fact.
yeah.
And by the way, so now that we're on this topic of weight and all that stuff, that reminded me of something. So, like I said, actually in May I'll turn 60. So I'm kind of fudging a little bit. I'm 59, and
Oh,
a
so
bunch of
you're
numbers.
lying. Well, fuck it. This show's over.
Well, okay, back. Oh, actually, technically, I am 60 because I'm counting the 9 months that I was alive in my mom's body. That
Fair
counts.
enough.
So,
Fair
right,
enough. All right. Fair enough. All
got it
right.
right. Touche. Bam.
I'll allow it as you were. As you were.
Hey, we're arguing that those are live
Those
bodies
are a
in
lot.
there.
Yeah.
So,
So technically,
I was
I'm
I was alive.
33. Yeah. All right. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
So I'm way over 60 now.
All
I'm
right.
pushing 61. So all right.
All
So
right.
well, I'll be 60 though for sure. So what I'm going to do is I've already got it on my agenda. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I decided that summer, maybe around July, I'm going to actually do two things. One, I am going to get back in the ring and do a pro boxing match. Used to be
Yeah.
a pro licensed pro fighter, and I want to get in at the age of 60 and fight. And everybody's probably thinking, "You fucking crazy, man." No, actually, I got speeds like from hell, hands from hell, man. They're very fast. I'm still good, man. I don't move like an old man. Anybody's ever seen me knows I don't fight. I don't fight like an old man. But the only stipulation I'll have is um, my opponent will have to be he can be any weight he wants to be if he's over 55. Right, I'm be 60. I'm going to give him 5 years. Plus, he can be whatever he weighs he wants. If he's less than 55, 54 below, he's got to be within 10 pounds of my weight. Right, whatever we agree on.
Yeah.
So let's just say I'm going to go in and fight at 190. Okay, 196 or something like that. I'm 210. Well, I was. You know what? I've lost 20 pounds in the last month. I've lost almost
Oh
10
yeah.
pounds in the last week. But I was at the highest I've been is 226. I normally run at 210. And believe it or not, today I'm actually 190. I went from 200 to 190 in 7 days. And I'll tell you why that here in a minute,
Jesus
what I'm
Christ.
doing. I have a reason for all this. But my goal is to get back in the ring and hopefully just a boxing match. I'll do kickboxing. I'll do MMA. I can do that too, but I'm more interested in the boxing. But I will do MMA. But I want to start with boxing because I'm a professional. And so we're talking about a different level, right? So I want to fight on a pro level where there's actually a lot of risk, right? Let's face it, my age, there's tremendous risk, right? Me going out there and doing it, but I'm not afraid of the risk. And I'm confident enough that I can fight. I can at least defend and protect myself. And if worst case scenario, if it's just not working out for me, I can always just quit, right? So, but you know me, I'll never quit.
I know you won't.
So there's only one option: is destroy that son of a bitch on the other
Yeah.
side, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. But so I'm going to do that, and then I'm also going to do another bodybuilding competition in the
Oh
masters
yeah.
category, heavyweight, right? So I've done them before. I started bodybuilding at age 47, started competing. My last competition was at 50, and again, a master division heavyweight. And the only reason I stopped the company bodybuilding was because now all of a sudden I find myself in Hong Kong, Indonesia. I'm traveling around the world. It's hard to stay consistent on the training regimen and the diet when you're just always all
It's
over the place,
impossible.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, but I'm not going to make that and let that be an excuse. So that's my focus. So right now, what I'm doing is I don't know if you've ever heard of the carnivore diet, but I've been kind of catching up on it, reading about it, hearing people. Even Jordan Peterson's doing it, and he swore by it. He's like, yeah, man. By the second week, he goes completely total man. Everybody that I have talked to that's been on the carnivore diet, strictly on the carnivore diet, has just raved about the health benefits. They feel better, skin's better, eczema's gone, all these issues they've had, even their eyesight's improving. Like, holy shit,
I,
man.
I was I was 219 on September 1st, and I've been eating chicken and spinach and water,
Yeah.
no carbs. And as of today, I'm
Well,
187. Yeah, it fucking works. It,
yeah. Well, the carnivore diet, there's no vegetables, no fruit, no carbohydrates.
oh
It's
Jesus.
strictly meat, meat. Well, you can eat eggs, right? And that's about it. So I
Yeah.
eat eggs and sausage in the morning, mix it all up. Or my steak the night before that I didn't finish, I chop it up and put it in there with my eggs. So I eat that. Lunchtime, I cook a half a sirloin steak or something like that. Then another half in the evening, or I'll quarter it and I'll eat 4 slices throughout the day. But just that little bit of meat, I'm full, man. I don't want to eat anything
But
else.
that's
And
why I eat the spinach, is because it I get an entire fucking bucket, and I think it's like 35 calories in the whole thing. I do that because it allows me to eat so few calories because I'm so full. You eat spinach and then you drink some water, man, it fucking inflates in your stomach. You're like,
yeah,
I'm not hungry.
well, the meat does it too, right? So what I've noticed with it is, one, I feel a little bloated,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's because of all the fat. Two, I have the diarrhea quite consistently. That's because my body get too much fat and body's trying to flush it out. That's
Yep.
okay. It's cleaning me out, and so it's not harming me. And so literally, I started the diet Tuesday. Today's Sunday, so what are we on? We're 6 days now, and I've weighed myself on day one at literally at roughly 199. 199 and a half. And this morning I weighed myself at 190. I weigh myself every morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
After I take a piss, clean up, naked, 190
Yeah.
pounds. So I've at least lost 7 pounds. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 pounds is water weight,
Yeah.
maybe. But I'm actually pretty hydrated. I wake up in the morning, I'm pissing, sparkling clean water, and so I know I'm hydrated. Um, but it works. And I've been really happy with it. I thought, if I get on it, I'm not getting any glucose. My brain's not going to function real well. I'm going to be loopy and goofy and forgetting stuff. But actually, the opposite's happening.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite. My memory's actually coming back more. And I say that because after I had COVID the first time a couple years ago, I got this long COVID shit,
Yeah,
right?
it
Like everybody's
fucked you
talking about
up. I
it.
remember that.
Yeah, dude, I was on Queer Street for a while, man. I was like, I didn't know if I was coming or going, what was going on. I was always sleeping. And then I had a hard time remembering stuff. And even when I got normal, um, I've had a hard time recalling stuff that was, like, who are you, Tommy? Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was that stupid, right? And then I had to come up with some techniques to stimulate my recall, which, by the way, I've figured out a way, if you can't remember shit, how to actually remember it. It's really amazing. I can't go into all of it right now, but basically, there's a way to program your consciously program the subconscious to retrieve answers for you. But there's these principles, these laws that you have to adhere to make it work. I'll give you an example, okay? And I'm going off on a tangent real quick.
Sure.
See, look at me, man. I'm like really fired up right now, and blah 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 blah. And all I had was a steak. I got plenty of
Well,
energy to burn.
but no, that it, but yeah, but that is the thing. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but I mean, if anything, it kind of rolls into like another good thing is, I know you're gonna do your tangent, but like with like intermittent fasting, right? That's like you should only eat so many hours a day. The bloated feeling, I actually kind of use that to my benefit. I'm like, I know when I eat, I pretty much need to like, you can't really that leather chair. I'm like, I gotta sit in that thing and fucking recline. And so then you go, well, I can't be like that all day. And you go, well, then I just won't eat till 8 p.m. Now you're doing intermittent fasting. So like
Yeah,
it kind of goes hand in hand. You go, if I eat all this fucking chicken at one time, I'm not gonna be able to move. Well,
yeah,
then wait till the end of the day. We don't have to move and intermittent
yeah.
fasting. But go
And
go on the
if
go on the memory tangent.
yeah. So yeah, real quick on the memory thing, and I'll go back to where I was going with this originally. So I remember one night I was in Indonesia. So I have the Fire Stick TV, right? You,
Yeah.
you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I got a bunch I brought with me over there. It's really cool, man. Just plug a damn USB thing in my TV, and I get to watch 19,000 different channels of movies and shit. It's freaking awesome. And I would, anybody out there's got, was it DirecTV? Fuck those guys for what they just did on the news, fucking
Oh
Canon,
yeah.
Newsmax. People are dropping them like a hot potato because they pull that shit, them and AT&T. So I'm glad I don't use them anymore. Neither one of them, I owe AT&T $1,000. They can kiss my ass. I'm never going to get it. So anyways, so I'm laying in bed in Indonesia with my wife in Bali, and I'm watching. She's asleep now. I'm watching TV in my bed, and there was a movie called No Exit. Okay, it's relatively new. It's about an Asian girl. I think maybe she's Japanese, Caucasian. I don't know, but it's somewhere in the United States. Long story short, her name was Darby, Darby, which I thought was a really unique name. Darby, right? For Asian girl. I never even heard that before, other than Camp Darby, for the Ranger training and all that stuff. But never heard of a girl named Darby. I thought that's kind of interesting. And I fell asleep. And then I woke up in the morning trying to remember the movie. I go, damn, what was that girl's name? What was that girl's name? Ah, man, what was that girl's name? I'm thinking Ranger. No. Grady. No, I couldn't think of it, man. Just driving. And the harder I tried to remember, I couldn't. It got worse. Right now, you're getting really frustrated. We've done that, right? You lose your car keys, your wallet, and then time goes by, you start losing your shit, right? And then somebody goes, "Hey, idiot, it's in your hand." Like, oh,
So in your pocket.
Yeah. So what I did was, what I had learned already was, what I have to do is take my mind completely off the topic, completely. Okay. Like you cannot even think about it a little bit. And why is that? Because as soon as you start thinking about something, you automatically go into the fight or flight reflex. If you can't remember it. Why? Because we don't understand. We fear what we don't understand. Okay. Like I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And all of a sudden this happens. Tunnel vision, which is actually your brain, not your eyes. Your depth perception is gone. Your peripheral vision is gone. Your heart rate goes up, tachycardia. Also, your blood flows away from like your immune system goes to large muscle groups, preparing you to run or fight, right? And so and it takes about 20 to 60 minutes to go back to pre-arousal levels, right? So as long as you're in this fight or flight mode, for anything will put you in it, losing your car keys, can't remember this person's name, you're going to start going into it. And then it gets even harder, right, to remember the name. So what I teach everybody is go to an anchor point, okay? What is an anchor point? An anchor point is a happy place, okay? And every time I say that, I think about the movie with Jim Carrey, not Pet Detective, but Ace Ventura. No. Dumb and Dumber. So they go to the restaurant, throw the salt, hit the guy in the head. What was his name? Catfish, and
sea bass.
Sea bass, right? Sea bass. And anyway, sea bass catches him later in the toilet.
In the stall.
And he's later and he's going, go to your happy place, right? But every time I say this, I think about that moment, right? He's right. Go to your happy place. So what is a happy place? Happy place could be any thought that, will make you happy, will take your mind completely off the issue, right? Whatever it is. In my case, that morning I rolled over and, banged my wife. It's like, okay, took my mind off of everything. Oh yeah, I had that issue with me. Boom. And what happens is before I go to my happy place, I actually tell myself, because I know what's happening is my consciousness is communicating with the subconscious, the mind. Okay. The subconscious controls 95% of our behavior. All right. It's the program that we're operating off, the operating system. All we're doing with the consciousness is feeding it data, whatever we want, right? So it's input. So I told the subconscious, I need that information. I need that name. Send it to me when you have it. Literally, I say that, right? And then I take my mind off it completely. Say, you're on your own now, buddy. And then after I get done with my wife, it's like, you got mail. I'm like, there it is. Darby. It's like it comes back just like that. And I do it all the time. So I've learned how to overcome this long COVID bullshit. And okay, we could argue that, well, maybe it's not COVID. Maybe I'm just getting old or senile, been hitting the head too many times. What could even be diet, nutrition? Believe it or not, your diet, your gut biome, if it's off, it will literally affect your brain. Okay. It's all interconnected. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent right now. But so what I was trying to, the whole point of the conversation was, is, our recall. And other thing too, by the way, is, the way we think, we're indoctrinated from the moment we're born. So from the moment we're born up to 2 years old, we are susceptible to what's called download hypnosis from our mother, particularly, and the father too, but really the mother, because she's the one we're bonding with the closest. And so whatever she does, or whatever reactions and emotions are we're most likely going to adopt them through observation, right? And it's going to become imprinted. And then, so if you had a mom that was always, screaming and hollering, scared of everything, you're probably going to be that same kind of a person, right? A little skittish. And then from the ages of 2 onward up to 7, we operate, our frequency in our brain literally operates on a different frequency range, around 7 hertz in what they call theta. And so what does that mean? We're in the same frequency mindset as if we were a yogi doing yoga, right? We're like, we're bringing our frequency down in the head. And so this is why kids between that age 4 and 7 particularly are really good at learning electronics, pick up language, doing like, wow, they're like little sponges. It's because their brain is programmed to pick up that information and learn it. After that, they go into beta. Okay, that's kind of where we're at right now, is in beta. Okay, we're operating probably around 28 hertz or something like that. So so in this point moving forward, what happens is we start taking that information and data consciously from our family, our parents, our friends, our school teachers, the news, the government. Everybody's giving us input. And because we're young, right, we look at these people as figures of authority. They must know something. The news must be saying know something, because they're the news. They're all over the place. They're saying it. So we buy into all this shit, right? And then you get my age, you look back, you go, man, half that bullshit was bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, I
so,
know.
yep. And it's actually, by the time you're 35 years old, you've been programmed 95%. And at that programming, half of that information is either flat out wrong or skewed. And so you've been making bad decisions, or making whatever decisions you've been making up to that age has been based off of that data, good and bad. And you're wondering, why is my life not getting better? I try so fucking hard and nothing's happening, because you're using bad data in the operating system. You got to change the operating system. So moving forward, you have to change how you think. You have to challenge paradigms. You got, is that really freaking true? It's not until then that you actually free yourself, free your mind, right? And you actually can learn and grow and be all that you want to be. Anyways, fascinating stuff to me, particularly, because of what I do on the coaching side of it. But, but where we are today, now going back to the bigger picture, right? The macro look of the world, macro perspective is, we have the dumb masses. I mentioned that earlier. I would argue to say that's at least 90% of the population are the dumb masses, right? Even though they bought an education, they're not intelligent. Okay, there's a big difference between effective intelligence. In fact, when I was in Delta, that's what the psychologists used to tell us, right? We had 3 psychologists there full time. That was their job, to keep tweaking the machines and make sure that we do our job and don't freaking go haywire. And I remember, they talked a little bit about Delta Force operator and their traits. What sets us apart from all the other guys? How did we make it through selection and nobody else? And one of the key traits is effective intelligence. And what is effective intelligence? Well, common sense and the ability to work through situations, right? Problems, difficulties, and arrive at a reasonable or rational solution, right? And a lot of people can't do that because, one, they have limited information, okay, or 2, they've been brainwashed and only believe in one thing. They can't think outside the box, right? So what they're looking for is a guy that can think way outside the box. And I've never forgot that point at the age of 23 when they said that. It's like that has resonated with me all my life. And so it's important that you can critically look at things and go, no bullshit, or yeah, that's true, or this is true. But that doesn't happen from one source, right? You just can't look at one source and go, oh, that says, CNN said this, so it's got to be true. You got to look at a lot of sources. And then what you have to do is map that information with your other data banks in your head already, the knowledge you already have and the experience you have, and see how it all forms up and matches. You'd be surprised how much shit's in your head that's actually wrong, and how much shit you actually know that's right. You're like, damn. And then intuitively start figuring things out, right? So when you can rely on yourself, and you can rely and you have faith and trust and confidence in yourself, is when you start moving forward in life. And then that's when you start becoming sovereign. And that's when you stop following the herd and you break away, go, hell, fuck these motherfuckers. Let them go over the cliff. I'm not going with them, because that's where a lot of people are at, 90%, right? And so I always say it's about 5 to 10% of the population that carries the world. makes the world go round, and think about it, there's the producers and the consumers, right? And so how many people are really producers, as compared to consumers, right? For example, my wife and I, we make jobs, we produce jobs for people, 65 employees, hell, I make jobs for dogs. Had 45 canines, and now I got another 12, so, we provide, we produce, we make the world turn around. Everybody else takes sake. And it's those takers that are never happy, right? Because, what's the old adage, nobody complains about the rich having money more than poor people. Poor people always complain about money, right? They're the only ones that care about money. That's all they focus on. That's all they can think about is money, right? And so think about that. And so because we have this, this dichotomy, man, it is what it is. Not everybody's going to be a producer. We do need consumers. Well, we're all consumers to some degree, but not everybody's a producer. Not everybody's a contributor and giving something back. Most people are just taking, right? And then complaining because it's not enough or it's not exactly the way I wanted it or we wanted it, right? So again, I'm assuming that because my audience tends to be mostly men, with a few women that get it, right? And they're real good women. Okay, they're not the parasitical women. They're the ones that get it and they believe in the gender roles. And I have a lot of female followers, and you have a lot of male followers. Probably have some female followers that are in the same camp with us. Not because we're women haters. We obviously love women. I do. And so, but we're truthful and being honest, And so I'm telling guys out there, because that's who's normally listens to me, is if you want to be sovereign, you want to be happy, you've got to challenge paradigms. You've got to avoid the dream killers. Okay, what are the dream killers, man? They're everything. Okay, finances, health, women, kids, laws, cops. There's a lot of shit that's going to keep you from being who you want to be in life, and you've got to learn how to avoid all that stuff. Don't entrap yourself. Avoid the traps by working on yourself, believing in yourself, and and setting your purpose in life. Where do you want to go? That's a tough task for a lot of people because they don't know how to do it, because they've been enculturated all their life to think a certain way, believe certain things, and it's hard to break that, right? It's hard to break that way of thinking. If you've been trained to think a certain way, it's hard to get out of the way of thinking. Honestly, I was raised in a military culture. My dad was in the Army for 20 years. I was in the Army for 20 years, spent another 9.5 years in OGA. My son's a Green Beret. I can go on and on and on. I come from military culture, so I was indoctrinated into this military mindset all my life. Okay, and so I still have it. Everything that I do. If you ever look at some of my pictures and stuff of my guys in Indonesia, right? They're wearing strapped uniforms. Canines look like they're freaking in uniform. I mean, everybody's dressed, and I have a military regimentation to my business, my civilian business in a foreign country. It's always going to be a part of who I am because I know it actually works. It actually produces results. I get things back for that are good, and so does everybody else. I don't get things back when I just run a loose ship. Go ahead, do whatever you guys want to do. Just don't fuck me over, because they will fuck you over and they'll take everything you got. So it starts here, man. And I'm telling dudes, we live in a different paradigm. It's a paradigm where men are the enemy, particularly American men, and not to sound racist, but particularly white men are becoming, we're the evil ones now, even though we're not. It's the picture that's been painted because it actually contributes to the bigger narrative of the people that are opposed to us, the freedom and everybody's freedom, right? So they would love for guys like me and you to go away because we are in their way. Right? We're the guys telling these other guys, hey, don't stand down. Don't back up, man. Don't give any quarter, man. Just fucking, be prepared to stand your ground. That's what scares the left. That's what scares the government. All the governments, they don't like guys like us because we can't be controlled. And so that's my message. And that's the same message, actually, which is why I like Andrew Tate so much. Same message he says. Stop being a pussy. Stand up and take care of yourself. And pussy, there's plenty of pussy. You'll get so much pussy in life. If you take care of yourself, and you don't have to look like freaking some handsome Jack, as long as you can exude, project power, okay, and confidence, and you got intellect, okay, and you're a shaker and a mover, you'll have a happy life, okay? You'll have a happy life. But if you acquiesce, succumb, I got a friend. I'm not going to mention his name. You know who he is too, but we're not going to mention his name to save him the embarrassment. I watch him on his phone, like, hey baby, how you doing, dude? I know why he's doing it, okay? Because the other person on the other side is just fucking pure evil, man. Um, and he's got all kinds of shit to lose, and he doesn't want to lose it. And I'm like, damn, that sucks to live a life like that. I said, what do you do? He goes, well, I have no choice because if I walk, I lose everything that I've accumulated. Everything's gone, And the irony is, he's not even married to her. Like, huh? That's how afraid of it. He's got so many financial ties. But don't be that guy. Is what I'm trying to tell you. Don't. It could happen to you, but don't let it happen to you. Be smarter than that, regardless of your age. You, Tommy, man, you got a good start, man. I'm telling you right now. You keep doing what you're doing. You go out, you work out, you got a great shape on you. You're smart. You're a go-getter. Good things will happen to you. You'll find that right person when you come over to Indonesia with me. I'll hook you up, man.
I'll come over. I'll come over.
Hey,
I'll
we'll do a
come.
podcast over there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we've talked about buying an island and turning it into Comstockistan and
I know,
becoming
right?
your own
There you go.
embassy. We would eventually get bombed, but about the like the critical thinking and the paradigms and shit. There's I would say probably the most important thing about that whole aspect is to examine e- examine your observations, and you can't be fearless because you can't control fear, but examine the truth for what it is. And so that could mean, I remember reading a quote when I was in college, and it's like a professor's gonna, administer a test and all that shit. They're never gonna tell you, hey man, you should maybe take a year and go think about whether or not you want to be a doctor. And like, but you don't know that when you're a student because the people telling you to be a doctor are often doctors themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as you get advice from older people or your uncle or whatever the fuck, and well, then you have to start questioning, like, well, do they know the answer? And that's scary. That shakes your worldview. That shakes the scaffolding in which you've grown around. But if you would just keep examining it for all of it's scary, it's flawed, it will eventually start to set you free. And so
Yep.
it's not just that you have to examine something fearlessly and try to understand what paradigm you're in. It's also to understand what the implications are. Oh, the implications are, oh, maybe the government's not out to help me. Oh, what a shocker. That's a scary one, right? You grow up, your Uncle Sam wouldn't. Well, okay, but if you just put your head in the sand, well, one, you can't. You can never forget it, so you're just lying to yourself. But examine that. And then it leads to the next thing. And it's like, well, do I need all these pharmaceuticals? Maybe they're out for profit. And maybe people are making money off this war. And then on and on and on. And eventually it's a series of discomfort, and it sucks, but then you're free from it, right? A workout sucks, but then you're finished and you feel great and you start to get some muscle tone. The same thing happens with just examine something. Like, I realized I didn't want to be a doctor after I'd spent 4 years getting into medical school. Like, that's a shitty realization to be like, oh fuck, I climbed the wrong mountain. Like, it just sucks. There's no way around it. It just sucks. Doesn't make it any different. You're still on the wrong mountain. It's just what it is. You can fucking pout about it. You can get shit faced and scream, and that's what you got to do. But then you eventually go, all right, well, where's the other mountain? Well, the other mountains, I want to be my own boss and be in charge of myself. Fuck. All right, I'll start marching. And it's been 10 years. It took 4 years to get in med school. It's taken 10 years to get to this point where I can pay for myself doing what I want. But now I'm here. And so with all these challenging paradigms, I mean, from anything, from what is the US dollar backed by to fucking, who owns the media companies to fucking who, am I getting censored, or, what is hate speech and what is fucking war going on? And are this country evil? Are we really good? There are all these levels of discomfort. But as you move further and further inward in your philosophy and your mindset starts to get more in sync with reality, then you can start operating better. If you're trying to build rockets and launch them, but you're under the mindset that the Earth is flat, well, once you start to get into like 10,000-mile trajectories, your shit's going to be wildly off target. Versus you get the correct model, and you can, Coriolis effect, and okay, we're moving around the sun, and there's atmospherics and ballistics, and you can start hitting your target better. And that's what you have to do is you have to get the model correct. And it's scary because to get the model correct is one, to admit that your current model's fucked, and then two, to throw it out and be in that weird limbo where you don't have a model, but you can build it back and you can get more and more accurate. And so anytime there's like a discomfort and you don't want to look at the truth, that's where the fucking answer is. That's one thing I'm finally getting better. I think really in the last couple months getting better too, is
Yeah,
just to stop hiding from the discomfort and instead go, the discomfort is actually, it's just the truth. It's in it. It's like the sun. You don't want to look at it. It's like a megaphone. It's too loud. That's where the fucking answer is. So just look at it. There's no getting away from it. What is that feeling inside of me? Or I'm not happy doing this, or I should probably apologize to this person, or I'm not saving enough money, or I should really be dieting more. Like, just examine it. And then it's like pulling out a splinter. And all
yeah,
of a sudden there's tranquility. And then the next
that's
one
right.
will come along. And as you do these over the years, you start to get less and less afraid of it. So now when you hear discomfort, you just go, you're no, it's no different than someone knocking at the door. You're like, oh, I gotta go get the door. You're just moving more and more fluidly. And also it gives you confidence to not give a fuck. So when people are like, I can't believe you and Dale are talking up, shut the fuck up. I don't, we were talking about like demographics before this. I'm like, I don't even know what my demographics are. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm just doing. If anyone thinks I'm looking at statistics and being like, who can I impress? I, I, I don't. It means nothing to me. It fucking means. If I gave a fuck, I'd still be on YouTube and I wouldn't be swearing. But instead, I don't know, for better or worse, I'm banned to Rumble where I'm just screaming and calling everyone a fucking retard. But I don't care. It's just because that's what I'm supposed to be. And then maybe one day I change. I don't fucking know. But just, and I know it's cliche, but like the truth will actually set you free. And
That's
it actually will.
it's it's the truth. You're right because a lot of times people are literally prisoners to everybody else's will and everybody else's what everybody else is projecting. So it's, for example, you know a lot of people would be afraid to have this conversation you and I are having, and you said retard. Oh my God, people will lose their shit. Don't say
Oh
retard,
no.
right? Right. And then what you're going to do, a lot of people will do is they'll avoid using that word, right? It's because now what's happening is those other people that are so sensitive are now controlling your thought process and the words you say. So are you sovereign if you do that? No, because who's in charge of you? You or them? Right? So that's the difference, right? And I thought about this quite a bit. Now I normally don't cuss, at least on any kind of media, but I do sometimes. Today I did, obviously. And actually, what's happening is I'm becoming less and less concerned about people's opinion about me. And I'm starting to basically adhere to my own teachings, and that is, who gives a shit what people think about you? And if they're not paying my bills, putting a roof over my head, and keeping me safe and alive, I really don't give two shits, right? And so that's your opinion. And if you want to get down to brass tacks, show me what you've done in life, and show me why you're right and I'm wrong. Yeah, good luck with that, right? So that's one of the benefits of being my age. And then these other old fuckers that are older than me that try to correct me, it's like, dude, tell me again, what did you do? Oh yeah, nothing, right? So it's not because I'm smarter than everybody else. It's just that I won't allow myself to be controlled by everybody else, nor will I think like it. Look, I will never respect personal pronouns ever. All right. So I'm not going to do it. You're either a male or you're female, and we're not going to have this conversation. Aborting babies is murder, period. I am not changing I've done the work. I've done the research. I've looked at it really hard. I've analyzed the shit out of it. And I'm like, nope, nope. I am not going to conform because somebody else has sensitivity issues. They can't cope. That's really what it comes down to. They can't cope, so they want me to help them cope by changing my character, and that's not happening, right? So, but you're right about, once you can recognize the truth, and you recognize and you accept it, then you are going to be free, and that's kind of where I'm at, man. I look at so many things, and I know, look, there was a time I thought oh, smoking marijuana is bad. Now, I don't smoke marijuana. Okay, that's not what I do. All right, I'm not advocating that. What I'm saying is, I was always like hardcore marijuana drug bad, and I was indoctrinated by my dad. Drugs are bad. Don't take drugs. Hell, I was afraid to take prescription drugs, and I really kind of don't, unless I really, really, really have to. But then it occurred to me one day, in my 40s, after I got my doctoral degree in alternative medicine and natural health, studying herbs and medicinal herbs and things like that. I was like, wait a minute, what the hell's wrong with marijuana again? Um, Let me see. Not people aren't dying from it. Okay, people dying from drinking alcohol and cigarettes like in the droves, right? So, but I'm not hearing too many marijuana deaths, right? And so, um, it's used for medicine now. So it has some medicinal purposes. What is wrong with it again? It relaxes people. It actually helps people that have PTSD. So there's a lot of benefits to it. And after doing a little bit more research, I realized, yeah, how come how come nobody's going to jail for fucking smoking cigarettes to death and drinking, but people getting locked up left and right for marijuana with harsh sentences, like ones Kamala Harris dished out, and for what? And then I realized it's because it's against the law. Why is it against the law? Because the government can't make money off of it. They can't tax you for it, and actually they make money off it because they can arrest you, right? And
Mhm.
so this is how they're going to make their money. So I realized this is not about your health and people's safety. This is all about government control and money and taxes. And so when I came to that realization and I did the work, okay, I'm like, fuck that. Who cares if you smoke marijuana? I don't care. I don't give a shit, And so, there's some drugs I wouldn't advocate for, obviously, like cocaine, fucking, you know, uh, I know there's so much bad shit out there today, fucking,
Heroin,
yeah, heroin,
meth.
anyways, yeah. So, obviously those are like really life altering, biology altering drugs, and they have some severe long term consequences. Fentanyl, my God, I saw the fentanyl problem firsthand while I was working out in San Francisco, downtown, 4th and Market Street for 6 months, 12-hour days. I watched fentanyl just destroy people's lives, not even just the people that were taking it, but the people that were around them were becoming victims of this drug, and and it was so scary. I thought, oh my God, man, please God, don't let my kids accidentally, touch this stuff somewhere or any way get contact, have it, laced into their marijuana, whatever, if they're doing that. But that I don't advocate for. All right. But marijuana is a lot less evil than cigarettes for sure, and alcohol. So, anyways, these are paradigm shifts that I've had to have.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, come later in life, but with age and experience, education, bigger worldview, you start seeing things from different perspectives. Go, wow, how did I miss that? And you dial in, and then you do become more free, right? So, um, and it's beautiful when you find that freedom, you find that sovereignty. The bad part is, like me getting older, it's like, fuck, now what am I gonna do with this information? I can't exploit it as much as I used to,
Yeah,
wanted to.
sure, but it's still better late than never, and it's yeah. You come to those real, I
Yeah,
rarely smoke. I don't think I've smoked in over a year. It's not for me. I don't give a fuck who does it. But
yeah,
and then you go, yeah, well, they're making money off putting people in jail. It also makes sure by keeping it illicit, it also makes sure so that the cartels have a good stream of money, and we like to control the cartels. So why the fuck would we want to? They're already coalescing to their own power structures. If we control those, then we control fucking middle America. Like, all right, those are paradigm shifts, and those are scary. You go, oh, fuck, what are the implications of that?
yeah.
But stare it in the face, and you can't do it fearlessly because you can't control fear. So, but just stare it in the face and accept it, and then you become liberated. And it
Well,
wasn't the end of the world. And then the next one comes along, and the next
well,
one.
what you do is it might be scary, but you have to have the courage to face it, right? And
Yes.
the confidence. And it actually starts with courage to face it, analyze it, understand it. Once you understand it, you no longer fear it.
Yeah.
Right. And so there are steps that goes to it, right? So we fear what we don't understand until we understand it, right? It's like, people are afraid of guns. Oh my God, guns are bad, kill people. No, actually, if you understand this, the gun doesn't go bang by itself. Somebody put their booger hook in the trigger and pulled the trigger, right? And that went bang. Okay. And so it's just an instrument. So once you understand the whole concept, gun doesn't kill the person, person with gun kills person. Then we figure out, okay, the gun is not scary. It's inanimate. It doesn't just get up and start shooting people. So, and then if you understand how to handle it safely, how to load it, unload it, clear malfunctions, watch where you point it, all the firearms rules and things like that, then you become more confident. And then now you just, like I said, there's more. Now you can cope with it, right? Easily. You can cope with it because you have the confidence. It goes hand in hand. It's knowledge. Knowledge is power, and learning is superpower. So, to your point, if you want to get ahead in life, you want to evolve, you want to get smarter, you want to be more confident, you want to expand your horizons. You've got to change what you think to how you think. Change the what's. People are telling you what to think, right? Because they're doing it every day. They're telling us what to think. Stop letting them tell you what to think. Change the way how you think. Okay. And that's the key part, is the how. That's what I actually teach people, is how to think, right? And it's actually a science. Believe it or not, success is based on science, physics. Success is solely based on physics. Like, how the hell is that possible? It's got shit all to do with willpower. It's got nothing to do with philosophy, because willpower wanes. It wanes. Right? It's only so much gas in the tank. You got to refill or do something else. Philosophy is really kind of the sovereign of the philosopher. That's his philosophy. It doesn't mean it applies to everybody. Yeah. It doesn't even mean it's right, just because it sounds cool. Yeah. But what never changes is how you think. And if you can learn how to think and exploit the vision, the imagination, and you understand how to exploit that through your neurophysiology. It's called epigenetics. But if you can understand that process, you can do anything you want in the world. So when people ask me how do I do all this shit, there's the answer right there. It's not because of what I was thinking. It's not because of what people were telling me. It's because of how I was thinking. And most people don't really understand how to think. They think, but they don't understand the how. Really, there's a performative part to this thing, to thinking. And that's why some people are so vulnerable and gullible, and they believe everything because they don't know how to think. So they just take data in and go, yeah, it must be true, right? They don't understand the whole process of, recognizing and assimilating, or assimilating and analyzing and mapping and compartmenting and just, long-term memory, short-term memory stored, all these ideas of how to actually filter information so that you're putting good data in the subconscious, the operating system. And as long as you don't do that and you don't know how to do that, you'll never, ever really live the dream. Did you know that only about 0.02% of the world population actually lives the dream? I'm living my dream. I live the dream. It's like, wow, I'm living the dream. I think you're living the dream. I'm sure your dreams are bigger, but you're living that. You're creating your own. You manifested your own life and your own happiness, as I have. You and I are in a very select group of people, very small class of people, around 0.02%. Everybody else is trying to get up that hill, and then they give up and go back down the valley, fucking walk around aimlessly with everybody else and then die. And there's just a big valley full of bones of fucking sad people down there that are unfulfilled. And it's guys like you, me, you take any, wealthy person or successful person in the world, they're on the mountaintop. They made it to the top because, of how they were thinking. They persevered, it's pretty simple. But then again, it's not, obviously if it was simple, everybody would be doing it. So
well, yeah, no, I'm definitely living where I want now, and I do have bigger and better dreams. But yeah, no, it's easier to get into medical school. I'd honestly, I'd say that sincerely. It's way fucking easier to get into medical school, and you take that and pick it apart. I would say it's accurate.
Yeah,
because at least
but what's more satisfying?
Exactly.
More satisfying?
Well, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And when you do get there, though, I mean, it's bliss. I always wondered, like, what would it be like if I actually fucking just made money on my own, no boss, no employees, just fucking winging it every day. And yeah, it's probably the only thing in my life that's never let me down, right? You always have ideas of, oh, this vacation's going to be so great, or this sex is going to be so great, or this video game's going to be, and it's always good, but it's never quite as great. I would say sort of becoming who I wanted to be. It's fucking greater than I ever met. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'll walk. I mean, I work my ass off every day, and it might look like I'm miserable, But man, a day doesn't go by that I don't at some point just start grinning like a fucking idiot and just being like,
Because
dude, this is
you
so
you you
sick.
have you have self-actualized is what you have done. It's called self-actualization. It's a term coined by Abraham Maslow, right? You've heard of it, Maslow hierarchy of needs, right?
Hmm.
And basically, self-actualizing is becoming the person in your mind's eye that you would like to be. That person that you can visualize. And so, you have done that. That doesn't mean you're there, right? Doesn't
Sure,
mean you can't
no.
visualize more and self-actualize
Go
more,
farther,
but
yeah.
you reached a milestone for yourself, right? And so, at this point, you can always go backwards, but I doubt it. There's really one way, and it's keep going up. Use that as your platform for you know, your next adventure. And so, self-actualization and self-fulfillment, man. If you're not striving for that, then what are you doing? I mean,
Yeah.
what are you doing? How can you can't really, are you happy making other people rich, asking for 2 weeks vacation every year, getting up every morning from, you know, 8 to 5, doing whatever you're doing, flying a desk in an office, or driving nails in a fucking construction site, which I've done all that shit. Okay, so I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I've done it all, and given all my everything I've ever experienced in life, I will tell you right now, being sovereign is the best thing ever, man. It's like, wow, we're still, you and I are still, the government still got us by the balls, and there's still people that got us by the balls to some degree, but they don't have us by our balls, our arms, our legs, and our fucking neck either. So, um, like a lot of people, so that's the beauty of it. You know, leave your life options open, and always strive for that sovereignty, man, because you're going to need it more now than ever. They're trying hard to take it from us all. They're trying to put us all in the same box, right? It's easier to control us. I said, who's they? Well, you know what? There's an element out there. It has a lot of different names. The cabal. By the way, these guys didn't just pop up in the last couple of years. They've actually been around for about 100 years. This has been a long-term thing in
Yeah.
play. But we're at this critical point, really critical point, that we don't rein it in soon, then you can kiss everything goodbye. You can kiss your freedom goodbye. You'll be free. You get to like, you don't have to live in a cage, but you won't get to go on a vacation when you want to go on it. You won't be able to travel where you want to go. You won't be able to spend your money when you want to spend it. You'll have whatever your neighbor has, nothing more, and probably nothing less. But that's coming, man. So that's coming for those that don't start preparing to build a ladder to get out of that box when it comes. I've got the ladders. I've got the ladders in 3 countries right now, and I've got other places to refuge. And I've left some options open. And so I would really highly recommend that people out there, especially men, fucking don't get shackled down. Don't let your little head talk, control the big head. Um, there's plenty of quiff out there, man. You ain't gonna be good looking, and you don't have to be 6 foot. All right. All you gotta do is project power, money, power. Even if you don't have money, project the power, and be confident, be strong, be moral, be right, be ethical, and you'll go a long, long way. So, anyways,
Hell yeah. Um, Dale, let's wrap this one up. That was
all right, bro.
a fucking blast. I'll send you the that Rumble link thingy so you can download it. And
Okay, yeah, it's
as
good
always,
stuff.
Dale's
Okay,
Instagram, his Twitter, his book, all that good shit. The performance coaching that'll all be in the description. And yeah, Dale. Thanks, brother. And till next time.
till next time. All right, man. Be
All right,
good. Be
buddy.
safe. Good.
Take care.
Bye.